Hello and welcome to On Point. I'm Kealani Sarmiento. Recently, some media have been depicting members of the African American community as dangerous, but cell phone footage of police interaction with this community proves some police are dangerous. The Ferguson case sparked a dialogue among millions of Americans after an innocent teenager was shot and killed by a police officer. But Michael Brown was only one of many who have lost their lives during confrontations with law enforcement. New technology like smartphones and surveillance cameras have been used to capture many of the shootings. Ohio researchers say only 26 officers have been convicted of murder or manslaughter since 2005. No one knows how many people have been shot by police in those 10 years. Accurate nationwide records have not been kept. After a recent shooting in El Cajon, Reverend Shane Harris said law enforcement should take responsibility for their actions.
We need legislation to let police know that if they hold misconduct, they have to pay the price.
Many in the African American community have reacted with anger and distrust toward police. Black Lives Matter is one of the organizations seeking justice for the African American community. On Point's Thomas Gallegos has more.
Thank you, Kealani. And welcome to our On Point guests. First, we have Professor Monica Turner, Pan-African Studies, Kyle Smith, screenwriter and actor, and Professor Aimee Glocke, Pan-African Studies. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Absolutely.
This first question is actually for all three of you. Activists for Black Lives Matter believe body cams on police will help bring transparency and trust to communities. Do you believe that these body cams will help?
It's a start, but it's not the end. It's just a beginning. They're also problematic because in recent reports, cops are actually turning them off. So it's new to the situation, and it's going to take some time, I guess, for it to really sort of reach an equilibrium where it's achieving what it's designed to achieve. I just think it's a start.
And Kyle, do you have any opinion on that?
Yeah, I don't think it'll make a difference. I mean, when you look at the statistics of social media and cops are killing innocent blacks on camera and getting away with it.
Do you think it won't make a difference, just like what Ms. Turner was saying about, Professor Turner was saying about
a start? I mean, I agree and kind of disagree. I just feel like it's not going to change anything. It's a systematic problem as opposed to just using the camera to catch them, because it's continuously happening and it's growing at, numerous rates. So there's nothing that's not going to change.
And Professor Glocke?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess I'm sort of like in the middle of both. Like, it's a start because something needs to happen. Things need to change. It cannot continue to be the murdering and assassination of black men and women. But also the fact that people are turning them off. And also there's been actual footage of police officers point blank murdering and assassinating black people, and then what happens? They get acquitted, they don't go to trial, they're seen as using necessary force in the situation. So as of right now, it's not working, because even when they're capturing these assassinations and murders on camera, nothing's happening to the cops. So it has to work in conjunction with other things. There actually has to be a trial, they have to go, I mean, and that's even if you care about if the court system is even going to be legal and equal, which is a whole nother situation. So it's a start. I think we have to start somewhere, but at the same time, they've been caught on camera and nothing's happening to them.
Well, staying on that topic of police being caught on camera, do you think people should be able to record incidents involving the police with their cell phones? There's been, in some instances, police confiscating cell phones or taking video from different stores, from security footage. Do you believe that this footage should be allowed to be shot by regular citizens?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. The problem is, it's not that this is a new situation. It's being filmed. And that's why it's getting the momentum that it's getting, because the occurrences are so frequent across the nation.
And by it's not a new situation, do you mean historically?
Oh yes, these kinds of murders have taken place all along. It's just now they're being recorded. You can see, I mean, this isn't occurring in a vacuum. And that's probably part of the problem, that police officers are accustomed to this type of behavior. It's been naturalized with their badge.
I agree.
So, now that it's been recorded, some of them, and that's why they're so brazen to do it in front of the cameras, they're so accustomed to it. So, yeah, absolutely.
I agree with her, 100%.
Yeah, we should. We should all be filming. Every time anyone has any interaction with the cops, really in honesty, it should be filmed. And there's even brought about apps from different like organizations so that you can actually upload it right away before like the cop takes your phone. But it's all about like knowing your rights as well, like your right to be able to film and how far away you have to be from the police. And you know, because a lot of times what'll happen is police officers will assume you don't know your rights and then just take your phone or say, oh, you can't film this, knowing that we actually can. So a lot of what we do here at CSUN, and especially in Africana Studies, is trying to educate our students in terms of what they can do and what their rights are, because they can film a situation. You just can't interfere with the police interaction, but you can film the situation. But a lot of times, general population just doesn't know.
And I just want to say this, to add on to that, there's a certain protocol you have to follow. So
For sure.
if the cops are doing their job, if their job is to protect and serve, that protocol is to do what you're supposed to do if the criminal, or if it's not a criminal, if they're doing something wrong, you have to just follow the protocol. But for you to feel that this person is recording is wrong, it's obviously, it's showing that you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
wrong.
You're doing something wrong, exactly. So yeah, I totally agree with both of them as well.
Now, in regards to this footage that we're seeing from civilians and from police dash cams and also police body cams now, do you believe that this footage should be released to the public instantly? Because we've seen in some cases the police withhold footage from the public. Do you believe that this footage should be out there for transparency automatically?
Again, absolutely. Part of it, you know, what we're struggling against, especially in the context of Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter, is this idea that there's no racism, that everyone is being treated fairly, with equal protection under the law, etc. So for Joe Blow, who's tucked away in this nice little suburban community, who thinks that everyone is being treated fairly, whether he accepts it or not, there are stark images in front of him to the contrary.
Right.
Do you understand? So I think it's really important that America see itself.
And it goes back to, like she said, it's been happening centuries. It's been happening for centuries, man. And now that you have your recordings, I think, of course, it's supposed to be out to the public. Let them see it. Some of it is a little bit congruent, like some of it is really disgusting. But
Hard to watch.
it's hard to watch, but it's at your discretion, you know. But I agree. I think it definitely should be out to the public.
And Kyle, immediately, right?
Immediately release to the public. The public has a right to know, especially if they're not doing anything wrong. If the police claim they're not doing anything wrong, why wouldn't you release the footage right away?
And Kyle, this question's more specifically for you. Being a screenwriter and an actor within Hollywood, pursuing your dream, would you say that the portrayals that you have seen of police brutality within film and TV are represented accurately?
Completely accurate. Most of the writers that write those movies have either been victims of it or have heard stories. Because as writers, a lot of times we hear stories and it becomes part of us. And that's what makes me want to write your story, or us want to write your story. But yeah, absolutely. I think, for instance, Boys in the Hood, I mean, that was accurate. That how inaccurate can that get? NWA, the new movie. I mean, the guy's in a recording studio, and the cops come and just put him on the ground for no reason. I mean, of course, that's accurate portrayal to me.
And
Another film is Crash.
Absolutely.
Crash was very excellent. Terrence Howard's character of being dehumanized like that, and even the abuse of his wife. You know, I mean, that was very compelling.
Gruesome.
To watch.
Yeah. And
There's been a lot of stories about women being raped or sexually assaulted, especially Black women, by the police as well. So those are other conversations we need to have.
Yeah. And seeing those movies as a young African-American male who's intelligent, you know, I carry myself well, and just to see that you might become a victim just off circumstances, just being there. Of course, the accuracy helps us to know, to learn how to cope with it. But then sometimes deep down inside, as a young Black man, it's hard to cope with it. Sometimes you want to react.
within pop culture right now, during this climate that we're seeing, are you grabbing onto any specific artists that are expressing ideals that you fit well align with you ideologically?
Yeah, I like Chance, the rapper. T.I. just put out a song called Warzone. And I feel like, I mean, it's in our amendments, man. It's in our rights to speak freely. And if you can't do that, then what's the purpose of the amendments? What's the purpose of the constitutional rights? You know, so of course I definitely can compare myself to those type of writers or artists because they understand it. They go through the same thing. And the worst part is, like, for instance, I don't mean to bring up the Chris Brown incident, but the helicopters all over his house and him have to barricade himself in because he's afraid he's going to get shot, and his disrespect towards the cops, but it's all out of anger, and he's releasing from anger, but he don't mean to say it. You know what I mean? I just feel like a lot of times we are just, we depict it wrong, man. It's a really sad situation.
And even his use of social media to protect himself.
Exactly.
He was on, I don't remember if it was Facebook or where he was on, but he was recording
Instagram.
himself. Yeah, Instagram. He was on recording himself for his own safety.
Yes.
Knowing what very well could happen.
Yeah, and it goes back to the camera situation.
Yeah.
Should we publicly put it out there? Of course. Let the world see it.
On Point reporter Nick Torres spoke with BSU President Robert Wilson III. Here's what he had to say.
Do you feel like you interact with police differently as a young black man? And did your parents talk to you about these issues growing up?
Absolutely. My interaction with the police has absolutely 100% always been different than my peers around me. And when I say that, I grew up around a very diverse culture of people, had all kinds of interactions with the police in front of other cultures, sometimes and mostly alone. Those are the most dangerous interactions. Those are the ones that make it hard to sleep at night and make you not really want to walk to school the next morning. Too many times I find myself on the defense. I wonder why, first of all, I'm being stopped by a police officer. And second, I always question to myself, why am I scared? You know, why am I nervous? Why is there that thought that there could be something, you know? I feel like that my interaction with the police should be the interaction that I believe all Americans should have, and it's the one that believes them to be people to protect and serve, right? And to be that force that we can rely on as a people to protect us and to keep us safe. So there's no reason that there should be that amazing contradiction that when I'm interacting with the police, I'm afraid of them, when we should be protected, when those should be a part of the safeguard in America. And personally, it would be nice to not have to feel scared. It would be nice to not feel nervous when interacting with the police. And I could be held accountable for the things I do or the things I do not do, right? There should not be any other factors bearing down on me whenever I interact with the police. So it's truly unfortunate.
Have you had any personal experiences with police?
Absolutely. I would like to speak on one case in particular. I was out in Lancaster, California. That's out in the Valley area. It was around nighttime, around 12 p.m., so it was very dark. I was getting home from an event I did on campus. It was pretty late night. I was driving with a female friend of mine. I was driving down a back street, not a highway or anything like that. The speed limit was about 55 miles an hour. I was cruising, going a little fast. I was doing 60, and an officer got behind me in a big truck, police car. He flashed his lights, and I pulled to the side, and instantly he took the light, the big light that they carry on the car, and he flashed it inside, and he got on the microphone speaker, and he told me to put my hands up, and along with my female friend in the car, so I put my hands up, and he got out the car, and the officer unhoisted his weapon, took the belt off his weapon, took the clip off his firearm, and held it, walked towards the car. And it was another officer on the right side, who got out of the passenger side of the car. He did the same thing on the other side, but he didn't proceed to the passenger's window. Only the officer on my side proceeded to my window, and he asked me what I was doing. And I was astonished, out of all the questions that the officer could ask me, he asked me what I was, as if driving at night was an activity, you know what I mean, or worth questioning, And then I said I'm going home, and he asked me where I stay, and I told him, I was staying at my female friend's house tonight. We're out in Lancaster, and he was just like, well, you're speeding. You're going way over the speed limit. I said, officer, I was not aware of my speed, but I don't believe I was going way over the speed limit. And then increasingly, he just got just blastering with me with questions. My hands are in the air the whole time. I never got an opportunity to put my hands down. Before he got to the car, I premeditatedly, I pull my wallet out every time anytime I have a police interaction. That way I don't have to reach for anything. I put my cell phone in my lap, and my wallet in my lap, so it's already there. I told him, I had, my wallet was already there. He said I can pull my ID out. He took my ID, and he went back to the car, and I left my hands up. And he was at his car for about 5-6 minutes, and I sat there with my hands in the air for about 5-6 minutes. And when he finally came back, he told me to put my hands on the steering wheel. and he wrote me a ticket for speeding and sent me off. So overall, I felt like, you know, if I was speeding and I broke a violation and that's something that happened, and a ticket is necessary. But there's no reason in the world where I feel like you should have your weapon in hand, ready to go, or I should feel like you are scared of me, or I feel like you are on the defense from me. You know, I'm simply a college student. I was driving home. I wasn't attempting to break any laws or doing anything drastic, and I just felt like the treatment and the natural vibe of the entire interaction was highly intense. You know what I mean? So much so to where I felt like I couldn't twitch, and so much so where overall I had my hands in the air for about 10 minutes, and that was a eye-opening experience to me about what could possibly happen when you interact with the police.
Professor Turner, you hear Robert's really chilling story, and how do you react to it?
I'm a black mother of a 33-year-old black male, and I'm constantly holding my breath. Even when I see black mothers grieving on television, there's something about projecting yourself into that situation. And there's no words to describe that kind of torment. When you think about a child that you have loved, nurtured, cared for, someone shooting them down like an animal in cold blood, there's nothing to describe what that feels like.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I really don't have any words. I just have I feel like I am terrorized every day. Not a day passes when the phone rings and I don't think, oh my God, you know, something horrible. So.
And Kyle, just for you personally, have you ever had any experiences like that?
Yeah, when I was in college, we were all outside. It was, like he was saying, it was diverse. And the cops pulled us over, everybody in front of the college just having fun. You know, we kids, man. And they single-handedly, like, pointed out 4 black guys, whatever. And just was like, what are you guys doing? They pulled me over, and, I mean, they had brought one of the wagons. It was like you know, the wagons with the truck. And I was like, man, what is this about? You know, I didn't know what was going on. They were like, because I had just bought a vehicle, and they told me I was driving, what is it called? Something of a stolen vehicle or something. And I was like, I bought this from a car dealership, and they you know, they they put the cuffs on us, and they threw us in the paddy wagon, and we were all just college students, man. It was really, you know, I'm not getting emotional or anything, but it was just like really embarrassing. You know, everybody, it's like they told the white guys, you guys just go ahead, we've got to deal with this. And then when they took us to the police station, my friend's dad is an attorney, and his mother is a doctor. And the cop, you know, he was a racist cop, man. He was like, you guys look like you love to steal. You look like you want to just go shoot people. And it's like, dude, why? Like, why do you know, you can't respond, because it's almost like that's when their anger and hostility increases. So I truly understand what that guy is saying, and it touches us, but at the end of the day, like I said earlier, it's all systematic. There's really nothing we can do. We can protest, we can, you know, we can put on Instagram, change needs to happen, but at the end of the day, it starts with that the elitists changing rules, changing the system. If that doesn't change, then nothing will change. So yeah.
And Professor Glocke, would you, in terms of police, is there a standard for knowing when lethal force is warranted?
They're supposed to be, but I think that anytime they see a black, and it doesn't even have to be a black male, it's a black female, it's a black trans woman, it's a black child, just being black, most police officers will see that that's deemable for excessive force.
Yeah.
It just automatically will assume that if it's a black person, that they're doing something they shouldn't be, they're a threat, and they'll just use force anyway. So they're supposed to be, I know there's a standard, and there's supposed to be this whole judgment of like when you use force. Most police officers don't care. They will shoot first and ask questions later.
And this question is directed to all the panelists. Do you think the increase in coverage about police brutality and Black Lives Matter has anything to do in part with President Obama and his presidency the last 8 years?
Yes.
Right.
It's like, you know.
In what ways, though?
Well, it's like, you know, I worked both of his campaign with people from all walks of life. And it was a beautiful day. The first time I felt proud to be American, really. And it's like after he was sworn in, a few people woke up and went, what the hell just happened? And America's been raging ever since. He has not been in that White House one day with peace.
Yeah.
We had that wonderful where you see all the shots of the whole world crying, for crying out loud. And the next day, all-out war. So yeah, I think there's a connection. I think that the whole birther movement and the whole questioning of his whether or not he's American, all of these different tactics inflame the passions of some people who feel as though they've been cheated out of something.
And we know that that obviously was discredited and a totally awful and horrible thing to start. But staying on that subject of Donald Trump and things that he has said and perpetuated, Donald Trump recently said there is a war on police. The FBI disagrees. FBI data released yesterday countered Mr. Trump's argument, saying that 2015 was one of the safest years for police on record. Why do you think Mr. Trump is still saying this stuff?
Because he's pandering to a certain segment of the population that is somewhat isolated. They have what comedian Paul Mooney calls the complexion of protection, but they don't have the resources. So he's inflaming their passions by blaming their lack on immigrants, blacks, women, gays, the disabled, anybody he can throw under the bus, because those are the people that support him. Those are the people that are going to go to the polls and vote for him. Hopefully they will be small in number.
Yeah.
I hope so too.
Well, he has white privilege, and he supports white supremacy, which means he's going to support the white supremacist structure of America, which means he's going to support the police officers that support the white supremacist structure of America. So therefore, of course, that's what he's going to say. I'm not surprised that's what he's going to say. He's just trying to support the structure that's going to get him elected. And you're right on. It's the poor white people who he's really giving to, or he's really like pandering towards, for the simple fact there's just economic separation. But he's saying what they want to hear.
Yeah.
So he's supporting the structure that's making him, that brought him as far as he is right now.
Yeah.
And interestingly, his inability to, or his refusal to pay taxes is why we have places like, trying to think of that one community, starts with an A, it's escaping me. God, Appalachia.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, these are some of the poorest
white people.
Americans. And yet they somehow identify with Trump. So it's just incredible how this scenario is playing out.
But that's always happened throughout history. Race has always been, even economics, if there's a separation of economics, most white people will always go on the side of somebody who's white, even if economically they'll never achieve to what that level is, which is where. So he's really catering to the people he knows are going to follow his suit.
Well, staying on history, no, but just quickly before we end, stay on history. Do you believe that the historical context of police brutality and their reactions with certain communities has led up to this moment in time in American history?
Absolutely.
Oh man,
You got to go back to slave patrols.
Yeah, for sure.
The whole structure is patterned.
Yeah.
Even the badges. I mean, you know, there's no new thing under the sun. It's a variation on a theme. Right now, Ava DuVernay has a film out on Netflix called 13, where she's talking about the 13th Amendment. And the only way that we will allow slavery within U.S. borders is as payment for a crime. Not to mention, black people are still considered to be 3/5 of a human being. All of this, you know, is still a matter of record. It has never been overturned. So that goes to your point about perception. If you see people as subhuman, you can do anything to them because after all, they don't have a subjectivity. They don't have a soul. They're animal-like. I think it was Nina Simone who said it best. America has never changed its way of thinking about slavery.
I agree.
Yeah.
So we're still in the ideology of slavery.
Yeah.
And the police are just doing exactly what the lynch mob did years ago.
Yeah.
They're trying to support a particular structural entity, and so we don't need the lynch mob anymore because we have the police doing it for us. So it's totally a continuation, and you can really only understand where we're at today if you understand the context of how we got there.
Yeah.
And most of the people are preying on the fact that people don't know the context. So they don't understand how we got, but we have to know where we went to where we are so that we can help to dismantle the structure that we've been talking about.
Absolutely.
We have to do it. We have got to dismantle the white supremacist structure. Otherwise, body cameras are just body cameras.
Donald Trump kept saying phrases or statements or like stuff like law and order. We need to bring back law and order. We need to bring back stop and frisk. And it's like...
Translation?
Yeah, and it's like...
Enslavement.
You know what that meant back in the 60s.
Yeah.
You know, Richard Nixon and those guys, Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Legalized profiling.
You know, the three strike rule. All of that was all... I wouldn't even say a gimmick. It was all patent to destruct the African Americans.
Target, yeah.
It was a
Absolutely.
target.
And it's no different than the rhetoric of, Reagan, Willie Horton, Willie Horton.
Yep.
Then we have, they always use these figures to inflame the passions of the very population that Trump is appealing to.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
pull out one person. This just recently happened with an immigrant that was in the Bay Area, and I think he committed some kind of crime, and then Trump started coming out with Mexicans are rapists and criminals.
Yeah.
They choose one person, and then they just do a whole broad sweep on the whole group.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to our On Point panelists.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Thank you for watching On Point. You can follow us on social media by searching CSUN On Point. You can watch us on LA 36 Sunday mornings at 11:30 or listen to us at KCSN 88.5 FM at 5:30, also on Sunday mornings. For all of us here at On Point, I'm Kealani Sarmiento.